49ers 30, Giants 12. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bob Biskin, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And one day we will win a Thursday night football game, but I think it's been like since the Larry Donnell game since the Giants have won on Thursday night football. Justin, hey, this game was 20-12 in the fourth quarter. This is a game, Justin, where the 49ers were just more talented, right? I think this ties into the Cowboys game, where you came out of that Cowboys game so excited for the season, and you didn't look at it as, oh, the season's over, but you did look at it and like, you know what? They are not ready to compete with the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Eagles, right? And I think it's specifically those teams are obviously the top of the NFC, but more specifically that those teams have pass rushes across the board, where they have four and guys that can rotate in that are good pass rushers with the Giants' bad offensive line. And they're also spearheaded by Defensive Player of the Year candidates. You know, the top three players for Defensive Player of the Year are Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons, and Hassan Reddick. The Giants just up front, especially without Andrew Thomas, without Ben Bredeson, just can't hang with the best pass rushes like this in the NFL. What will tell the story on this season is, do you belong with the teams like the Seahawks? Can you win a game versus the Bills or the Dolphins? And can you protect enough to operate on offense against teams that don't have the best pass rush but have solid pass rushes?
Yeah, for sure, man. Even for me, this was a little bit of a back and forth emotions-wise, this game. It's like, oh, how should I feel about this game? Because on one side, you can say, despite so many guys hurting out, the Giants were in this game for a lot longer than they should have been. But at the end of the day, it was never really that close. There was never a semblance of a chance for an offense tonight, an operable offense. You feel good about the defense in some aspects, but then there's a ton of other areas that make you concerned, like tackling, allowing yak, and third down. All three of those things tie into each other inevitably. So in the end, I think this game really hurts because of how close it was at one point. At one point, down by 5, down by 8 in the second half, like you said. This game hurts because of how close it was at one point, even though it was never really that close to begin with. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense in my head.
Well, there's just a clear talent gap, right? There's a clear talent gap, and the 49ers, like, they played their game, right? They didn't make any big mistakes, and that's kind of what the Giants need to live on. And the Giants need to play mistake-free football, and they didn't do that for them to have a chance in this game. And again, like, and we can get into the schematics and stuff in it, but what's going to tell the story on this, like, the Cowboys show, like, they're not with these teams. But are you better than the Seahawks, right? And then are you good enough to win versus teams like the Bills or the Dolphins? I'm not saying you beat both of them, but win games like that. So, and obviously the Cardinals game, as fun as it was a little frustrating because that was a bad team. You shouldn't have.
But let me throw this question at you, because you're talking about, well, can we hang with teams like the Seahawks, the Dolphins, the Bills? I think the Bills and the Dolphins are in a little bit of a different conversation than the Seahawks. But I understand your point.
But I that's what I'm saying. Is like, but can you get one from those teams?
So let me ask you. Do you think they can?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I really do.
Because it's a shame how we start, like, literally, Bobby, it was, the first game was what, September 10th? That was 13 days ago? And now 3 games in and, 13, 14 days ago, it's a shame that how quickly we've changed expectations for this season, where just 14 days ago, there was the expectation of we should be closing the gap. And now we are snapping our fingers and we are saying, I guess we're not going to close the gap, but we should just, I guess, take a step up in beating some of the teams that we didn't beat last year, or be the same team that we were last year, even though this team did, and I'm putting this in quotes for podcast people, did make substantial upgrades in talent upgrades. And that's a shame, and that sucks.
Okay, but they couldn't have done what they did in this. Like, I don't care how bad the Cardinals are and how bad that. Like, last year, they couldn't have done what they did in the second half of that game.
Correct. Yeah.
And as much, it's so excited as we were for this team, did anybody ever say we're better than the 49ers or Cowboys? We talked about maybe getting one, like, having a game and beating the Cowboys, but never in my mind, like, that was the concern for me. It's like we said it, like, we're clearly the third best team in the division. Like, there's clearly two teams that are better than us. Doesn't mean you can't win one versus one of those teams, but they're clearly better than you. And we knew the 49ers were as well too. It was just like, hey, what's up with their QB situation right now?
Yeah. And being 1-2 after these first 3 games, like, that was, if you were to tell me that was going to happen a couple weeks ago, I'm still being like, yeah, that is likely.
You got to beat the Seahawks.
Yeah, you got to beat the Seahawks. That's really it kind of feels like the season's on the line next Monday night.
Yeah, you got to beat the Seahawks. I feel like you don't have to split with the Bills or Dolphins because the schedule gets easier after that for the most part. But it's like that would be a good sign for this team to do that.
Right.
Let's get into this, talking about this game individually though. With the front that the 49ers have in the pass rush, you knew that the Giants had to operate quick game and get yak, and they tried to operate that, and the 49ers kind of knew that that's what the Giants would do. Like Wan'Dale Robinson and Paris Campbell, their slot receivers, they had 10 catches, but it was only for 45 yards because the 49ers knew that, hey, when they get in 11 personnel and shotgun, that they're going to try and work quick game. That's what we've given up this year against other teams, that they're going to work the quick game. So we're going to pounce on that quick game though, and we know that we can pounce on it because their offensive line isn't going to give them time to win when they're not keeping extra protection in. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, Paris Campbell averaged half of a yard of yak per reception, not even a full yard of yak per reception. Next Gen didn't have the Wan'Dale numbers, but Wan'Dale wasn't adding very much yak either. I'm actually, whenever the yak numbers do come out for the game, I'm going to be, that's the first thing I'm looking for on Friday morning, is for those numbers, because they couldn't get any yak. And this was a game where you kind of needed that to happen.
I wonder if they registered enough targets or catches. Usually you got to, for it to be qualified on Next Gen's site, you got to register enough catches. So I wonder if that's actually going to be listed. So
yeah, Campbell. I'm just saying, when you look at the game, but Campbell was or on ESPN, Campbell was the only one who registered for that. And hey, when they had the quick game and some, obviously when you're throwing the quick game, you're compensating for your offensive line not protecting. Like DJ, and again, this was updated in the game, like in the fourth quarter, so I don't know what the final numbers were, but when he was clean, he was 14-17 with 111 yards, which sounds good, but still, it's only 6.5 yards per attempt, which essentially is putting you in a situation where anytime you have any mistake on a drive, it screws you, right?
Gary Brightwell dropped the first drive of the game.
Yeah, Gary Brightwell dropped the first drive of the game. Darren Waller had 2 drops. And for the love of God, can we stop? It's like 2020 all over again. Stop making drops, interceptions. Daniel Jones, who was like number 1 and not turning over the ball last year, you're going to go through the first 3 games of the season, says the guy has 4 interceptions. 3 of them are tipped up by 2 by Saquon, 1 by Darren Waller. So when you make mistakes like that, and then DJ missed Darren Waller on that crosser on 3rd and 11 where he was high.
Yeah.
There was also, like, when they got into when they did try and create big plays, right? And Dable said in the press conference after, like, hey, how come you didn't really create any explosives? Like, well, we kind of tried, but protection didn't mess up. I mean, they were lining up. Justin, there was a 3rd down where they kept 8 guys in the block, and
they triple team Bosa.
And JMS gets beat 1-on-1 by Hargrave.
Yeah.
And they're running a 2-man route, and because Hyatt struggles with press, Hyatt's getting pushed into Darius Slayton, and there's nowhere to go with the ball.
Yeah.
So it was like, even when you got into those heavy protections, well, guess what? That's more guys in coverage, and they were playing a lot of man coverage. And they were still giving up stuff there. And there was also times, like, early in the game, there's a 1st and 10. They ran the same exact play that Hyatt got the 31-yarder versus the Cardinals. DJ, he gets open, and DJ doesn't throw it. Now, he had pressure that was coming. He didn't have immediate pressure that stopped him from throwing it, but he doesn't throw it. And it's just, again, like we said at the top, the Giants don't have the personnel up front to win versus these teams.
Yeah.
Versus these teams, like I said, they are very specific at the top of the NFC, where not only do they have great pass rushers across the board, but they've got great pass rush. They've got the top. They each have one of the top 3 defensive player of the year vote getters this last season, and Bosa, Parsons, and Reddick. Obviously, Bosa and Parsons are on a higher level than Reddick,
Right.
But still, they're consistently able to get after it. And guess what? Your 7th overall pick didn't develop, right? And we talked about how that being a big swing for this offense. He didn't develop. Andrew Thomas, your all-pro left tackle's injured. Your second best pass protector in Ben Bredesen. Well, now Shane Lemieux played his first full game since the year freaking 2020 when there wasn't even fans in the stands. JMS got beat a couple times. Marcus McKeithen's not good. I don't know why. Like, anyone watched that Cardinals game and came away pumped about it. Like, he was not good in that game. The Cardinals pass rush just sucked. So they just can't operate. And like you said, like, if they could they have maybe made this a game or even won if they don't have 3 drops? DJ doesn't miss Waller on a crosser. They don't pop up an interception. Maybe, but even then, I don't think they do.
Right. And that's why it's so
frustrating. You're assuming that they're gonna still drive and score in 7 points and stuff like that. So
and that's why it's so frustrating that even though like you feel like you're there, but you never really felt like you were there, and that's why it's so frustrating. And with the O-line, if it's not one guy, it's the other. There was just zero consistency across the board. Where at least in years past, you can hang your hat on, all right, we know the pressure is going to come from the right side. We know that Nate Solder's just going to be that bad guy. Even last year, the pressure is going to come from the right side with Glowinski and Neal. Whereas the first 3 games of the season, it's just been anywhere. It's coming from anywhere and everywhere. And that's really, really super frustrating. And man, Bobby, there were times even in 2020 and 2021 where we criticized Garrett and Judge, and we said that just because there's bad O-line play doesn't mean that you shouldn't take deep shots. I can't find the play, at least on like first watch, where I'm saying, man, why are we not pushing the ball downfield here? Every play is a disaster up front, and I couldn't believe when I tweeted out at halftime, and a guy like Connor Hughes is tweeting out that, the Giants O-line's holding up well, and then I had other fans in my mention citing Connor Hughes saying that, the Giants O-line was holding up well. They were bad the whole game, and it was because of the game plan that was keeping Daniel Jones upright. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, the spin zone of the Giants offensive line from their first half. They were bad. It was a disaster from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that stat is a stupid thing to say. Saying no, I mean, one, use your fucking eyes. Like that's a good start. And 2, why do you think out of 22 completions, 10 were to slot receivers? Oh, and what? 5 were to backs. 1 was to Daniel Bellinger in the flat. You have 1 outside receiver who got a catch, and Darius Slayton. And one of them was like, they were throwing, and they tried. Like, DJ had 2 deep attempts. You got the Waller pass interference. There was another Waller target. They tried to work some back shoulder to Slayton, and then again, there was other times where they schemed stuff up where they just couldn't even protect, even with 7 and 8 man protections. And then there was other times where DJ, passes up a Hyatt that was open.
The offense is inoperable with this offensive line. The
Giants teams like this.
Yeah, versus teams like this. And Andrew Thomas, come on, get back, man, for Seattle. I trust that he will. Probably a smart move keeping him out anyway. The Giants maybe even in their head planned out, all right, we're going to be 1-2 after the first 3, especially after losing 40-0 to Dallas. The Giants, and this is from Doug Analytics, our friend. Giants' longest drive lasted 5 minutes and 26 seconds. I believe that was the opening drive of the game, which, hey, the cleanest and, most scripted drive of the game is that first drive of the game. No other Giants drive was longer than 3 minutes. You're not giving yourself a chance on offense when you're leaving yourself in the third and longs, and then you're relying on throwing the ball deep down the field when there's no time to throw the ball deep down the field. You're also not giving your defense much of a shot either. They also had their own problems getting off the field. The 49ers had 6 drives longer than 4 minutes as well. Let's talk about DJ a little bit more too.
Why don't you talk to us about something, and then we'll talk about DJ.
Okay. I'll talk to you about
By
something.
the way, per the chat, Doug Analytics again, the Giants wide receivers had 19 yards of yak. Brightwell had 22, obviously, so I guess there's some in there, but the receivers had 19. Waller had 6.
I want you to guess how many, and this includes tight ends, everything, running backs, everything. So the 49ers had 441 passing yards in total today. How many of that came after the catch?
229.
That's a good guess. It was 201. So about a little under half. That's not great. It's one of the things that, even despite if you have bad offensive line play, Bobby, one of the things that we really thought would improve this year just because of Jimmy's and Joe's, Paris Campbell, Wanda Robinson's first game back, not going to put too much on him, but Paris Campbell, Darren Waller, all these guys are supposed to be yak guys and just athletes that just do what they got to do, and they're not doing it so far this year. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. Public service announcement, PSA, some say. If you didn't already know, Manscaped now sells beard products. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming changed the game with their brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Now they're going a step further with their brand new Handyman. I don't even have the Handyman in the box anymore, Bobby, because look at how clean-shaven I am. I used the Handyman before we hopped on. I figured the rest of my face looks like shit because I'm getting over being sick, and I've had a fever for the last 2 days, and I'm very tired right now, and I'm running on adrenaline. So I'm like, all right, well, let me at least make the Handyman my face look nice and sharp with the clean-shaven look. If you're like me, clean shaving is a hassle. The Handyman is the perfect compact tool I could take with me on the go to achieve that clean-shaven look without all of the effort. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GIANTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code GIANTS. Hit the refresh button with Manscaped. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. Here's my DJ note. It's like, again, something that goes both ways. Part of my brain thinks you can't have the dichotomy of having sick throws like the Gary Brightwell one, the first drive of the game, where, he's rolling out to his right, he's improvising, and then Brightwell, smart IQ play, he breaks off, and then boom, it's like a 15-plus yard play, right? And then you miss Waller later in the game, who is so big and so massive. I feel like you can't have that dichotomy, especially now that we're a $40 million quarterback. It also really just sucks that Jones barely gets the opportunity to throw from a clean pocket for longer than 2.5 seconds, that anytime he does get it, it's a play the Giants offense needs to have, or else it's a major missed opportunity. I think both things can be true. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no margin when you're playing. And again, I want to keep it in the context of playing teams like the San Francisco 49ers, because this is not a season-long conversation. There's no margin of error. Right? So like that throw to Darren Waller, Brian Dable said it. Brian Dable, who never gives any type of criticism at press conference, said
it was a little high.
It was an overthrow. Kirk Herbstreit, for some reason, didn't think it was, and it just gave everyone the green light to be like, okay, let's go. But it was an overthrow. It was on Darren Waller's fingertips. But running at full speed across the field, you can just leap like you're not. Yeah. Like you got to, anyways. Whatever.
And that's also a play. We're on a third,
but it shouldn't be that big of a deal to have one overthrow. And then also, now the other thing. But here's the thing with Jalen Hyatt though, because and whenever all 22 comes out, it'll be shown. And maybe you know what, I can grab the clip from you're gonna look at him like he should have thrown this. And that is something that we saw it after the Arizona game and talked about how it changed. With Hyatt, you are going to have to put more trust in him than you do any other receiver you ever had. He is not going to be someone who it's like, okay, when he stacks the corner, you can throw it to him deep. Or when this safety doesn't. He is someone that when it's like, you got to let it go because you just have to trust he's going to win. Because he's going to win on those, right? So that is like the if there's one criticism coming out of this game, because I'm not going to lose my mind over fucking one overthrow at Waller. Like
Criticism with coaching.
I'm saying with Daniel Jones specifically.
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah,
is like, hey, you gotta trust that Hyatt's going to get open deep because he does. So even if it's not open, like you have to trust, like, hey, as long as like the safeties aren't totally bailing, like he's gonna win that because he does. So that's, if there's one criticism I have of Daniel Jones coming out of this game, it's that. But I mean, I don't think anyone, if you're coming out of this game and being like, man, fucking Daniel Jones, like, I think you're out of your mind too.
Yeah. Now, the one criticism that I have with coaching this game is, why wasn't Hyatt on the field more, even to be used as a decoy and demand attention? Because you made, you felt the need to make an entire separate video of a film breakdown last week, and kind of like in lieu of a mailbag, but you felt the need to do that video because you felt it was so important to highlight Jalen Hyatt as a weapon and Jalen Hyatt as somebody who's going to influence a defense and what they have to do and how they have to defend, right? So even if there's not a plan to, all right, Jalen Hyatt breakout game, here we go, average depth of target, 25 yards, you're not going to have the time to do that. But regardless of, whether you're throwing him the ball or not, you have to respect Jalen Hyatt's deep speed. And then the theory is that Jalen Hyatt on the field running deep routes will open up things underneath, which will therefore help the quick game. That is the only critique that I have of coaching. This offense was inoperable because of the front that they were facing with the 49ers and because of the offensive line. That's why it was inoperable, not anything coaching did. Maybe having Hyatt in there for a few more snaps would have led to a couple more first downs. I don't think it would have led to like 2 more touchdowns for the Giants.
I agree. Like, Hyatt needs to be on the field more, just like you said, because he makes an impact that just other guys on this team don't do. So Hyatt needs to be on the field more. I also I think where the point of view where they're coming from is like, hey, despite as much as a threat he is, there still is a lot that has to be cleaned up on his game, right? Like, we talk about that 8-man protection they had, and you see Hyatt and Slayton running into each other. Well, that's because Hyatt is bad against press. Like, he can't be, right now he just can't beat press. Now again, there's ways to game plan against that. So like, that's not an excuse to not put Hyatt on the field at all. And it's like, he's not great at the short and intermediate routes, right? So he needs to get better in those areas, but I agree he needs to play more. My only other coaching critique on the offensive side is the Bosa sack.
Oh, yeah.
That is, I want to hear the explanation against that. And this is why. It's not simply, why is Bellinger on Nick Bosa, right? Because the idea is not to have, Bellinger, go just block Bosa. The idea is to block him for a half a second, squeeze him down, and then release. DJ's on the play action, and then you have Shep and Bellinger there, right, to throw the ball quick, even though Bosa's coming after you, but you got that second to do it. Where I don't understand it is Bellinger's detached from Bosa, and they're play actioning the opposite way. So Bosa's on the inside of Bellinger, and they're going that way. So Bosa, no matter what, his first step is going to be away from Bellinger, and Bellinger's just not close enough. So if you can run that. I have no problem if you run that exact same play. Just don't detach Bellinger from the tackle, because you're not asking him to block Nick Bosa. You're asking him to block and release Nick Bosa. And to me, that was just like, that was really bad. Like, I just don't understand. Again, maybe that's Bellinger. Maybe Bellinger screwed that up, but I don't think Bellinger just lined up in the wrong place. I don't understand what the thinking was on that. That is, besides the Hyatt stuff, that would be the other thing I have.
Even
and also,
I know down at your own goal line too.
Huh?
Down at your own goal line too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It could have been a safety. I know people will say, "Oh, you should have ran the ball more," but I'm sorry, I am not clamoring for a team that hasn't given up a 70-yard rusher in 30 games to hand the ball off more to Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell. They had 8 carries for 22 yards, less than 3 yards per carry. The touchdown was 8 yards, and it was a wham, like, trick type run play that they got, like, they ran that in the preseason. So the rest were 7 carries for 14 yards. Again, they have not given up a 70-yard rusher in 31 games now. I didn't think Matt Breida and Gary Brightwell behind this offensive line were going to be the ones to buck the trend on that.
I agree.
We've gotten pretty far into this episode when we haven't talked about the defense yet. Do you have anything else on the offense?
No. No, the biggest test is the next one, as always.
Well, the biggest test is how much things are heating up in the ballpark. Every team is playing to finish the season strong and make it to the playoffs. With DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the baseball action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers can take a crack at Sweet Payday with DraftKings same-game parlays. String together multiple bets for a single game for your shot at a major payout. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code WORLD. New customers can bet just $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 in baseball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code WORLD. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles, LA, Louisiana. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See dkng.co/baseball for eligibility, terms, and responsibility, gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Be glad you did. Okay, the story of the defense is not being able to get off the field on third down. Did you know, Justin, and I was watching the Next Gen broadcast, which I kind of love because I'm actually able to see routes develop and what's
watch it
happening
every
on the
week.
Secondary. It was the highest blitz rate in the Next Gen era. They would blitz 84% of the time, and honestly, I love it. We bitched and moaned about the Cardinals game, like, whoa. Wait, why is Wink not blitzing? They're letting the third down. No,
he gave us the middle finger.
Yeah. Thank you, Wink, for giving us the middle finger and blitzing, doing what you do, doing the, coaching the way that this team was assembled to be coached. Now, here's the thing. They couldn't get off the field on third down. 49ers were 9 of 16 on third down. They beat them on screens 3 times. You had on that touchdown drive, you had a 3rd and 15 and a 3rd and 13. The 49ers got 47 yards on those plays for screens. But I'm not going to blame coaching for that. I'm going to blame players, right? And I went through the third downs just to show you, to see what happened. So they were in 3rd and longs, Justin. Like, just the successful third downs were an average of 3rd and 7.3, and that includes a 1-yard QB sneak. That's high, right? And I went through it. I went through all the third downs before the last drive. First drive of the game, 3rd and 5. They blitz Deontay Banks for some fucking reason, just gives Deebo Samuel the slant. Just gives it to him. Then you have a 3rd and 8. Hawkins gets beat on a Jennings slant, and McKinney is supposed to take that underneath. And McKinney is just he's playing QB spy on Brock Purdy while you're blitzing him on 3rd and 8. I don't know what that is. Then you have a QB sneak. You have a 3rd and 10. You got off the field, but Deontay Banks, an interception goes right through his hands. No one pulling at his arms or anything. Then you have a 3rd and 8 stop. Then you have a 3rd and 15 screen. All 3 of the blocks were perfect. And the next block that Deontay Banks gets off will be his first in the NFL. You have Bobby Okereke just allowing the guard to block him, and Pinnock is actually playing as strong. Well, guess what? They just goes the opposite way of Pinnock and gets the first down. Then you have a 3rd and 13 where Simmons is held, right? So that's not their fault. But Okereke is coming across the front, and he just runs into a block. He slows down to take on a block instead of just screaming at it. Now I think you can be coached better against these screens because they're coming. They've been coming for 20 games now. You have a 3rd and 5. Ronnie Bell, 7th round rookie, beats Deontay Banks for a touchdown. But not the first time that Ronnie Bell's beat Deontay Banks for a touchdown. He did it at Michigan too. That was inside leverage. You should have Banks. You can't lose that. You can't. You're way too athletic. It wasn't even a good route that he ran. He just ran an out route. 3rd and 12. They give Leonard Williams a roughing the passer. Bullshit. Then you get a 3rd and 8 stop. Then Deontay Banks is injured, so 3rd and 4, Darnay Holmes holding. What's new? Can't blame the coaching staff for that happening. That's just a Darnay Holmes issue at this point. Then 3rd and 8, you get a bullshit Kayvon penalty where they gave, illegal touching downfield or whatever. He was within 5 yards. Then you get a 3rd and goal stop. Then you get a 3rd and 17 stop. And then on 3rd and 2, the only time where I don't understand what was going on, they had Christian McCaffrey in the slot. They run some zone, and for some reason, they're just not covering the out route on that. So, again, tell me which one of those plays that coaching really screwed up on that. It was the players.
Yeah, I agree. I usually
coaching
don't
got them into those 3rd and longs.
Oh, yes, 100%. I don't like to harp on officiating, but Sean Hockley and his crew could definitely eat shit too. There you go. That's done with that. I don't like analyzing or talking about officiating. I think it's stupid. This is according to our friend Walt WBG84. First time since 2019 that the Giants gave up multiple first downs on one drive on 3rd and 13 or longer. And since 2019, which, hey, if you're being compared to that 2019 defense that just allowed explosive play after explosive play, it's never a great sign. You talked about it, at the top of the defense, 84.6% blitz rate. Next Gen calculates it different from PFF and probably different from Pro Football Reference, but this is what we got to work off of right now. What we asked Wink Martindale to do is we asked him to dictate the terms of this game. And I love that. And Wink Martindale 100% did that. It's what we wanted him to do. And Wink Martindale and the game plan kept the Giants in the game. What took the Giants out of the game is their inability to get off the field in 3rd down, allowing yards after the catch, and not being able to make a fucking tackle. And all 3 of those things are connected.
And the tackling thing is weird because last year they were one of the best tackling teams in the NFL. I think they might even been number 1 in having the best least amount of missed tackle rate. This game, and this is becoming a trend with McKinney. Go back even to the playoffs. McKinney just misses these tackles, and he's also getting owned by good tight ends and man coverage. Where it's we want you to be a guy that wins those battles sometimes. Yep. Trey, that run they had, where Trey Hawkins. They get it on the edge, and Trey Hawkins just ducks his head, and they run right past him for a 15-yard gain.
The Deebo Samuel was in the second half, probably the 4th quarter, where he just goes fucking beast mode.
Yeah, Trey Hawkins goes up high and can't bring him down.
Trey Hawkins is diving at ankles. It's dude, where's this guy that I watched at Old Dominion that just wanted to go out there and kill everyone? He even did it in the preseason where he was tackling people, bringing guys down to the ground. Did it week 1 against Dallas. Why are we diving at Deebo Samuel's ankles? Why are we not wrapping up? Hit the fucking legs. Hey, call it dirty, but that's how you're going to bring these guys down. Diving for ankles and falling down on your face. It's not good football. It's not good football.
Yeah, but I think the bad tackling starts with McKinney because it's becoming a trend. I don't even want to bring up Josh Dobbs running him over. But it's becoming a trend that just these bigger dudes are able, McKinney, you're a safety. You got to bring guys down.
And it's strange for McKinney because I think after the end of his rookie year, where I was kind of expecting him to be way more of a physical safety, at Alabama, I'm thinking, McKinney's going to be a physical safety, maybe even an in-the-box guy. And then as the years kind of went on, he showed to be more of a physical safety, and he can be diverse, and he can play in the box, and he can play deep. And even last year, it's all right, he really put his stamp. He's a good tackler. And this year, I don't know if it's something in his head about his hand or, if his psyche's just not fully there and fully back, but it's the tackling aspect of it has been bad. And he did have a good game week 1, but if you're going up against Jake Ferguson and the Dallas tight ends that aren't as talented as an older Zach Ertz and then especially George Kittle.
Yeah, so that's been frustrating the last couple of weeks with McKinney. Now you do have to give credit to Brock Purdy too, right? The Giants played the right way with their personnel versus Brock Purdy. And it's not that he's out there being Patrick Mahomes, and he has misses too, by the way, which is he has these spurts of inaccuracy. But I think this is why Kyle Shanahan loves him. He always makes the right decision. Always. Right?
Yeah.
So unless you are just able to lock guys up in man coverage, he's going to make the right decision. Like he just doesn't make bad decisions with the ball of where he's going. There's balls that are badly thrown, but he just doesn't. And it didn't matter kind of what he was able to win versus the blitz. Now, he wasn't really pushing the ball down the field a ton, but when he did, he took advantage of it. The Banks touchdown, giving it to Ronnie Bell. Debo Samuel, you're working inside leverage on that. It's a deep throw. Like that was a really good throw and a good catch by Debo Samuel on that little stutter sluggo.
That was the longest air yard. It was either the longest air yard completion or touchdown of Brock Purdy's short career so far. And also, it's just so crazy how the 49ers just make scoring 30 points so easy. Brock Purdy is now
all pros across the entire roster.
Brock Purdy has now scored 30 or more points in 8 of his 10 starts. The Giants have scored 30 or more points 3 times since December of 2019.
Yeah, and Purdy, Purdy, 17 of his 25 completions were within 6 yards. And then when he did push down the field, he made the right decision. And sometimes he was inaccurate on it, but he made the right decision on those. And again, they have George Kittle. They have Debo. They didn't have Brandon Ayuk, but then you have Christian McCaffrey. You got an all-pro left tackle, which, by the way, what do you think of Ashawn versus Trent Williams?
They should have both been thrown out, and that would have been a win for the Giants.
It was actually a pretty smart thing by Ashawn to do the little tap in the thing, I'm not going to get caught for that. And then Trent Williams just punches him in the helmet. That was a very weird interaction. But the two meanest dudes on each team, right? Like Ashawn's probably the meanest dude on the Giants, and then Trent Williams is the meanest dude on the 49ers.
Did you hear? I'm going to see if I can look this up. Ashawn Robinson was speaking in Serbian. They asked him a question about Trent Williams, about their history together, because Ashawn played with the Rams in the AFC West. And then he started speaking to the reporters in Serbian, according to Charlotte Carroll.
Wait, what?
That's what Charlotte Carroll said. That initially, when Ashawn Robinson was asked about the history between him and Trent Williams, because Ashawn played with the Rams, that he initially started answering the questions in Serbian.
Is there video of this?
I wish. I haven't seen the video, but Charlotte Carroll's a very trustworthy person. I'm very good friends with her now. Spent a lot of time in Detroit together.
That's very... I don't even... Saying it... Okay. Yeah, so I mean, they were able to get now, and Purdy was under pressure too, right? Like it wasn't just like they were blitzing and weren't getting home. They were I actually think the front. Again, I want to rewatch Kayvon because I don't want to criticize him like crazy, but he did have the sack, but obviously that wasn't a good pass rush.
They were dropping him back into coverage again.
I thought the front, for the most part, did a solid job. Especially now, Dex, I wanted to see more out of Dex, but Leo had a good game.
Yeah, Leo showed up.
Leonard Williams played good, and I thought they did it well versus their running backs averaged 4.3 yards per carry. CMC had 4.7, which is good, but compared to the standard that he had been at, it's like a yard and a half less than what he's been doing. I mean, the defensive tackles had 15 tackles in this game, which is a good sign for them. I actually think the interior did pretty good, like Ashawn Robinson included, Nacho included, and Dex. I wanted to see more out of him that we didn't see.
Micah McFadden had a coming out party.
Oh yeah, McFadden was, again, this is coming off a really bad game for McFadden. McFadden still did miss a couple tackles, which is frustrating with him. That it's just an issue. I wish McFadden was just a little more athletic and a little stronger, and he'd be a good linebacker. But yeah, he was flying around the field, like on a defense, like in Okereke. Like I want to see Okereke start to play a little faster, because when Okereke plays fast, it's disruptive as hell. But he hasn't been playing fast to start the season. McFadden at least is playing fast, and again, 4 tackles for loss, 10 tackles. I mean, the Giants' leader in tackles for loss last year had 7. McFadden had 4 in this game. So like that to me means a little something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know how much more I have. I have some stats on yards after the catch above expectation if you want to hear that. We got to talk about one more thing before we go, though, and we can put a bow on this. Should I talk to you about it?
Talk to us about it.
Oh, Bobby
Tell the
Skinner.
people about it.
I'll tell the people about it. Great news. You don't have to choose between better hair growth and your health. Nutrafol provides a whole-body health approach for men that promotes healthier hair. No drugs, no compromises, just better hair. If you're losing your hair, if your hair's getting thin, or if it's falling out because you're watching this Giants team every single week, well, don't worry. Nutrafol, they got your back. They're the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting root causes such as stress, hormones, environment, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism through a whole body health approach. And it works. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months of taking Nutrafol's men's hair growth supplements. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter the promo code TALKGIANTS. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter promo code TALKGIANTS. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code TALKGIANTS. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. I don't have very many takeaways from this game either. I mean, again, I hate 49ers fan or find the clips of me saying that Trent Williams to get an indefinite suspension, been kicked out of the league, and taking it seriously. Always love that.
Oh, here's something.
Here's something like I've always said, like when you're on social media and you see something like that, just take 5 seconds and be like, hey, maybe that person's not a total idiot and is making a joke. Anyways.
Did you say Deebo Samuel shoved Laura Young and then Laura Young shoved him right back?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I clipped that up. I was like, kick him out. Not only shoved the Giants coach, shoved the woman.
Can't have that, Deebo Samuel.
Laura Young's a bamf.
Bam.
What else? I was going to say something else. Shit. Oh, here's my question to you. There was a lot of good and a lot of bad from the Giants defense. Are you walking away feeling better or worse about this Giants defense? Because I think there's an argument for both. Don't tell me I got to watch the film. Don't tell me that.
No, I'm not going to do it. I want to see more out of Okereke.
Yeah, fair.
It's not even like as a whole. It's like, okay. And then McKinney. Like, is McKinney just going to be a guy who, when he's facing good tight ends, they just win against him and doesn't make plays? Yeah. So I'm really having this game. Honestly, does not swing really anything for me, because anything to be learned in this game, Dallas kind of already taught us. If we played Cardinals week 1 and 49ers week 2, you'd learn something. It's, again, even with all like the pressure up front, you're still missing Andrew Thomas.
I'm happy that the defense kept us in the game, and I'm happy that they showed that they had a pulse. But man, I'm upset in the ways in which they lost. Like that's the thing that I'm like, damn, it could have been a more different game if they got off the field on third. I'm not even asking them, oh, well, they were really bad on first and second down, and they averaged 7 yards per carry, and it could have been a different game if they did that. It's like, no, this 3rd and fucking 14. Get off the field. That's what you dream of when you're game planning and you're putting together how the game's gonna go. It's all right. Well, we're gonna get these cats in 3rd and long, and then that's when we're gonna eat, and that's when we're gonna go to work. And they didn't, and that's the thing that sucks. And then that's also the thing that separates Kyle Shanahan from the rest is he'll still figure out how to have an average depth of target of 4 yards and still have 200 yards after the catch.
Yeah, and with the screens individually, or specifically, that is something the Giants have to practice. right? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, what are your lanes? Like it's I'm serious. Like it's a punt. You're punting because you're put in a bad situation where hey, you gotta. It's not all in front of you because you want to blitz and you should blitz, but you have to figure out like I'm telling you, if that 3rd and 15 one, if Okereke just plays it aggressively on the inside of that Banks, Pinnock plays it aggressively on the outside, they probably don't convert it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so like figure out what your lanes are and get aggressive on it. Which again, I know it's tough because you don't know who's going to be pulling out and stuff. But you got to practice against that stuff to get better at it.
And it's not a new thing against Wink Martindale. I mean, that's something that I'm pretty sure when Wink Martindale was hired that we talked about. That
it's consistent.
It's just this was happening. I don't know if they were if they struggled against screens in Baltimore, but we just knew that because of how much man coverage and because of how blitz heavy Wink was, that teams are likely to run screens against a Wink Martindale defense. So this is nothing new for his defense, and it's not just a Giants problem. It was a Ravens thing too that they had to worry about. So
that's so Raven. That is so Raven.
What's the schedule? Tell me the YouTube schedule. Tell me the pod schedule this upcoming week.
So the O-line report, I think I might get out for Saturday. And then also put out the film review Monday morning. And then we'll have a mailbag out Tuesday. And then we'll be back to a preview pod Friday for the Seahawks. And then we have to do Tuesday, Thursday, Friday because we play Monday Night Football. Why do they give us the long – like, I don't understand why you put Monday Night Football after a Thursday night game.
I kind of like it because you get like a little – like it's like a mini bye.
Yeah.
And they need it with all the injuries that they got.
Yeah, we need Andrew Thomas back, and Saquon's not going to be back for the Seahawks game. By the way, did you see what's
Rooks Taylor Rooks? Is that her name?
Taylor Rooks said it's a high ankle sprain.
Can our reporters get it together? Taylor Rooks had a conversation with Saquon Barkley. He's like, "Yeah, I got a high ankle sprain." Come on.
Yeah. There was something else.
I know I'm not in the building. I know it's not what I'm doing, but
I messaged one of them and asked them. I was like, "Hey, I was like, I don't care if they win this game by 50. You got to ask about that Ballinger play." And no one asked him about it.
Oh, did you see that the 49ers suspected of Dable calling plays too?
Wait, who said that?
It was Josina.
Yeah, it was Josina. Anyways. All right, that's. Do we got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. So we'll be back for the next podcast. Will be Tuesday. Obviously, there'll be content in between then. So we'll have a mailbag out and make sure to ask. What will be the most asked question for the mailbag?
Probably the line.
Yeah. So we'll have a mailbag out Tuesday. We appreciate you guys. Have a good weekend. Enjoy some football. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.